body created to empower, connect, and advocate for rural and remote local governments. And their mission is to strengthen rural and remote local government by fostering collaboration, sharing knowledge, and advocating for fair and sustainable policy outcomes at state and national levels. And one of the ways we do that knowledge sharing is through these webinars. And today's webinar is titled The Challenges of Accounting in Rural Local Government, What Every Council Leader Needs to Know. And we have our special guest, Dr. Igor Ivanikov, who is a principal of Vanguard Consulting Group. And he's also an accounting expert with nearly 20 years experience. And his background includes external audit of private and public sector entities in Australia and overseas, including New South Wales local government councils. He's also a chartered accountant and a fellow of the Association of Chartered Certified Accountants and a member of the Chartered Accountants Australia and New Zealand. So without further ado, I will turn it over to Igor to wow us with his knowledge.
Thank you, Blake. Can you hear me well?
Yep.
Very good. Thank you very much for inviting me. A great honor. Yes, as Blake introduced me pretty well, so I don't have anything to add. I'll just say a couple of words about our firm. So yeah, we are a small group of professionals. There are 6 of us, and we specialize in providing financial reporting, asset accounting, services to rural, remote, local government councils. At the moment, we are working in New South Wales. So we cover a fair bit of councils in the remote area in New South Wales. So I'll probably start sharing, I guess. I'll share the screen.
I'll just say real quick, Igor, to all the participants, or everybody attending today, that if we could, there'll be a question and answer time at the end. So if we could just wait till then, that'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you, Blake. Yep. So the topic of today's presentation is financial resilience for rural councils, outsourcing, and in-house capabilities in finance. Well, as far as financial reporting concerned, there are some core challenges, not only for the rural councils, but for any council and the metro council. We experience increasing regulatory demands, complex financial reporting. Every year, we get some new standards, new requirements, which we have to follow. In addition to that, we experience a tougher audit. The audit is becoming more and more in depth. And add to that tight budget. But when it comes to rural councils, apart from all those core challenges, the rural bushy councils, they in a much worse position compared to metro councils, regional councils, because small teams, high turnover, limited access to specialized talent. When I say small teams, I really mean it. We might have, I don't know, 3 or 4 persons in the finance department dealing with everything. The finance manager in a rural council, they usually have so many responsibilities that they can't cope with in a proper way or on a timely basis. It's not because they don't know something, it's just because they don't have time, don't have resources. And high turnover. So that's the biggest problem with the high turnover. It's really hard to retain staff. to encourage people to stay. Because like young people, they want to move on, they want to explore the world, they go somewhere, they don't stay for long. We have an interesting example. So one of our client is a really remote council, inland, far inland in New South Wales. And I think during the last 4 years, or no, last 3 years, they've changed 4 CFOs. But at the same time, there's a lady who is like financial accountant, and she's been with the council like forever. I think 30 years now. And during the last 5 years, she's been applying for that position for CFO, because council every year pretty much is recruiting a new CFO. And she's always been applying, but always been rejected. If I'm not mistaken, on the ground that she is not qualified, does not have that degree required for that position. But she knows everything. She knows all aspects of finance function within the council. She knows everyone. She has influence on people. And when like new CFOs or director or general manager, when it comes to any question related to finance, they all come to her for the answers. But sadly, she's never been selected as a successful candidate. So I'm not HR expert. I'm not in that field, but maybe something should need to be reconsidered in the recruitment process, because my understanding is that definitely when you hire someone to live and work in a rural area, you need to at least be willing to live there, be willing to contribute to the community, to be part of that community. And but you know, with the skilled, qualified staff, when they come, it's really hard to keep them in this area. They always move on somewhere. Yeah, so that's just an example. But there are so many examples like this in rural area. I know for sure, because I speak from my experience. Definitely, we have limited access to specialized talent, and that's not only about finance. That's pretty much every area, every aspect of the council's operations.
Yeah.
Yep. So they have limited access to specialized talent. And speaking of finance, when we talk about finance function within a council, we will see a lot of blocks or area or aspects of that function which need to be looked after. And imagine a finance manager. Technically, a finance manager should be able to monitor, to oversee, to control, sometimes to deal with such aspects as statutory reporting. By statutory reporting, I mean year-end financial reporting and external audit, dealing with auditors. Budgeting. Budgeting includes quarterly budget review. Sometimes that could be monthly budget review. That could be a long-term financial plan, a delivery program, long-term financial plan, community strategic plan. So it all has to be integrated, all has to be looked after and updated on a regular basis. We are not, I'm not expert in budgeting and management accounting, but I know from my experience speaking with the finance managers, whenever I call them, they're always on budget. They always do the budget thing. It's a lot to cover when it comes to budgeting. So there are a lot of stakeholders who rely and look at the budget compared to the say for example, financial statements. Asset accounting. Every council has under its custody millions, hundreds of millions, sometimes billions of dollars worth of assets, infrastructure assets, and they have to be properly managed and reported. And the reporting side of the assets is always a big problem, especially with the rural council, because you have to have a system in place which can generate proper report based on which you can make proper decisions. But that's not always the case. Many councils have like Excel report or something, numerous reports, and nothing is reconciled, and really hard to make proper decision based on this kind of information. So that has to be looked after, properly organized, and that's a lot of work. That's enormous amount of work. Technology, very often the finance manager is responsible for technology. So you can see a role, manager finance and technology, and that's another burden on the finance function. That's really important part, especially these days with all the cybersecurity threats and all this kind of stuff. Administration, customer service. Surprisingly, very often customer service is also on finance, kind of on the finance function. No doubt, creditors, payroll, debtors, rates, this is all finance. And this all has to be very well organized and looked after. But in order to be able to manage these kind of things, you have to be, you need to have skills, proper skills. Like, again, so let's imagine let's say imaginary finance manager, average finance manager, who has to know very good, very good scope, Australian accounting standards. So this is a national law, and councils have to follow this law, have to comply with this law, Australian Accounting Standard, issued by the Australian Accounting Standard Board. Financial report at the year end has to be prepared under AASB standards. But that's not only a financial report, that's also budget. Technically, budget is also has to follow the AASB standard, because they have to be prepared on accrual basis. And accrual basis is the main principle of the Australian accounting standards. All the grant acquittal. Well, I'm not speaking of all grant acquittal, but I know that many, like Roads to Recovery, Local Roads Community Infrastructure Program, they all have to be prepared under accrual-based accounting. And where do you get this? You get it from the Australian accounting standards. But interesting, and that's so we'll talk about the non-public sector accountant. But if you are coming to the local government public sector accounting from the commercial background, you'll be surprised that apart from the national Australian accounting standards, you also have to know, be aware, and comply with the state local government accounting regulations. In New South Wales, for example, we have they call it New South Wales Local Government Code of Accounting Practice. This document is updated every year, and it is released by the Office of Local Government. Other states, they have might have something similar, like there could be templates. For example, in Queensland, the Tropical I think in Tasmania, the Auditor General issues something which every council has to comply with. I don't remember. My research on that part was long ago. Now, when it comes to local government accounting, something you will not miss for sure is a grant accounting. It's no doubt that especially rural council, they rely a lot on grants. Financial assistance grant or any other grant. Without those grants, I don't know if councils will survive at all. Remote rural councils, and because of that, you have to properly account for grants. You properly manage grants, and that's a lot of work. So you have to have a proper grants reconciliation process, which would allow you to keep track of your restricted cash, your spending on grants, your contract liabilities and contract assets. So that's something which is which requires a lot of time to manage unless you have it properly streamlined and organized. Asset management, depreciation, asset revaluation. So assets, as I mentioned earlier, is the biggest item on the balance sheet of pretty much every council. But surprisingly, this part of the balance sheet is quite poorly managed. It is not looked after. Well, I can speak of every council. We like when we are introduced to a new council to work with, the asset is in a very bad condition in terms of accounting and reporting. Take, for example, asset revaluation. So because council's assets in every state have to be measured at fair value, they call it fair value, which means you have to make sure that your assets value are not too far from the, let's say, market value, or how much it would cost to build the same asset at condition they are at the moment in the current market environment. So you have to revalue your assets regularly, and the revaluation process, especially for infrastructure assets, it requires a lot of scrutiny, a lot of reconciliations, because every time, like if you open, say, for example, report to Parliament, which is prepared by the Auditor General every year based on result of audit of local government councils. Asset accounting and asset management are always on top of the high risk, always on top of the identified issues and audit misstatements. So yeah, that's the biggest part. Budget, long-term financial planning. As I said earlier, you have to be you have to have a really good knowledge of the budget, management accounting, overhead allocation. You have to deal with the every manager or every department. You have to manage the budget. You like your target is to have the budget balanced. So how to make it happen? So you have to spend a lot of time, or your team has to spend a lot of time speaking with or dealing with the managers. So budget is like, even though budget is not audited, as far as I know, it's not audited anywhere, but definitely New South Wales budget is not a document which is externally verified. But I know that the budget is something which is really important to community, to councillors, to management, to employees, to everyone. So yeah, so that's a lot of pressure on the finance manager and his team. Compliance, audit readiness, so internal controls. Internal controls in finance are really important, and auditors, when they come to do the audit of control environment as part of their interim audit, for example, they always look at how the internal controls are prepared. And all this reconciliation, all this verification of balances every month, this is something which would be good to be in place, but it's really hard to make it happen in a small team where you have to deal with a lot of things at the same time, and one person have to, like, I don't know, the management accountant, if there is management accountant, has to deal with the financial report, payables, I don't know, ATO, customer service, and then maybe if they'll have time, they will do all those ticks for the every month reconciliation and sign off and review. So that's something which is very often left aside, and then auditors come and then report, oh, look, you don't have all those control, that's bad. Yeah, we know that that's bad, but what can we do? Finance has to do, because there are so many facets of the operations within the councils. The systems are all integrated. You have different modules which you have to deal with, to look after, to reconcile, like payables or creditors module, debtors module, asset module, if there is one. And they all have to be reconciled and reported and deliver proper reports for the manager to make proper decisions and deliver report to the top tier level of the governance. So as you can see, a lot of skills which have to be in possession by the finance manager or his team, and that's not always the case. So you can't secure all those skills and qualities, qualifications in a team, especially in remote rural council. And so imagine now someone from the commercial sector comes in, trying something new. And that sometimes happens when people from commercial sector, accountants from commercial sector, come into the local government, and the first impression is shock.
Yep.
Because public sector and let's say local government. So as I said, they deal a lot with grants, and actually, when it comes to the accounting standards, the accountant from commercial sector would not know actually that they would know, but they never dealt with because there are some standards within the AASB which are not applicable to commercial sector at all. And one of them is AASB 1058, income of not-for-profit organizations. And most of the grants, 99% of grants which councils manage, they fall under this standard. So the accountant which comes from commercial sector, he will have to learn actually something new. Like he thought, oh, I know everything, I'm CA, but you would have to learn some new things. And AASB 1058 is not that straightforward, to be honest. It's all these grants, like financial assistance grant, roads to recovery grant, any other grant, it falls under this standard. And that's a fair bit of pages you need to read and then look at the guidance and talk to people to understand how it works. Add to this, grants can be multi-year. So you can, it's often that grants last for 2, 3, sometimes it could be 4 years, and this all has to be reported. You have to have some contract assets, contract liabilities accrued during the year, and restricted cash obviously has to be reported. Restricted cash is unspent grants. If you have unspent grants, unspent funds by the end of the reporting period, this has to be reported as restricted cash in New South Wales. I know that not so many councils, not so many states, to be honest, I'm not sure if other states report on restricted cash, but in New South Wales, it's the biggest issue. And if you don't have a proper grant reconciliation process, which would allow you to monitor, manage, and report on restricted cash, then you're in a big trouble. Assets accounting. Wow. So that's just wow. Because as I said, councils manage infrastructure, road, bridges, water treatment plants, all this infrastructure assets, they contribute to the probably second last line item in the expenditure side, depreciation. Sometimes you might see that depreciation is actually the biggest part of the expenditure side of the income statement. And it's always a question, is this correct? Because it's a judgmental figure, to be honest, it's an estimate. And yeah, so depreciation, it's millions of dollars. If it's not properly managed in the asset register, then your ratios go become worse or become better. So it's always a question, how good, how accurate your records are to justify this kind of depreciation. And compliance. It's not just financial report. It's a lot of other reports which local government has to prepare every year. Because of the public eye on you, because you are accountable for managing public assets, so you have to report, you have to provide a lot of returns, a lot of reports, financial, non-financial, auditable, not auditable. So instead of doing something meaningful, you have to do a lot of reporting, a lot of compliance reports, which takes a lot of time. And what councils do, especially remote councils, one of the options is, of course, when you hire someone. You need help, you ask someone to come and help you. And here come consultants. And consultants are not bad thing at all. It's very often consultants are helpful, and you might hire someone. I'm pretty sure councils on the today on this meeting have consultants. They invite consultants, they hire consultants. It just very often, consultants are hired when it's emergency. So you get a consultant, he does the work, and then he goes. So, which means there is a lack of continuity in processes, and you might be able to engage the same consultant next year, or maybe other consultant next year, but make sure that you do not wait for the last moment. It is better to get the consultant earlier. So, because like say, for example, in the time when you are you have to prepare financial reports, or you start preparing for a financial report, most of the consultants will be booked by that time. And if you'll be so lucky to get a consultant to help you with the, say, external audit coordination or financial reporting preparation, if it's too late, then consultants will charge a higher fee.
Fortune.
And they will probably not be able to give you like a reliable estimate of the total fee, because they'll have to deal with a lot of things in a rush, and sometimes they will be like spending a lot of time on dealing with some issues which should have been resolved earlier in a more like a stable environment. So you might end up with a pretty big fee in the end. So definitely another good thing about consulting is that when they come, they have something in their pocket to like tools, templates, which can help them to streamline some of the processes, to deal with some processes. Like, for example, we have templates for accounting for remediation provision in New South Wales, and I know, like in Queensland, accounting for the remediation provision for tips, quarries is a high audit risk area, and you need to make sure that you have a proper template. Or like we have, for example, another thing, we developed our own asset management software. So we take councils, when we onboard councils, we take all their assets into our system and do all the asset accounting in our system. And it's easy and streamlined. So that's important. Be aware of that, and it's a good thing about consultants. So just you need to be aware that there are some aspects of hiring a consultant which you might or might not like. So as part of hiring a consultant, like when we talk about hiring a consultant, there is another option. So because by default, when we talk about a consultant, it's someone who comes, charge your per hour rate, does the work, everybody's happy, he goes. He might not, he might never come back, or he might and do the same thing again. Another option is when you outsource. Outsource is like a so it's like a transferring. So you transfer an aspect of the operation, in-house operation, to external party, which means that party is now becoming responsible for effectiveness or for the results of the processes. And that can be, I don't know, creditors, managing creditors. Never seen this in local government, but it could be, or account receivable, debtors, or say, for example, debtors collection. So you outsource this, so the external party deals with your customers on your behalf. Payroll, probably not that common in local government, but still it's possible. Financial reporting, something what we do, for example. Yeah, you can outsource this function. So what that means, financial reporting is more like so there is a role. There is like officially a role called statutory reporting accountant, or you might hear it statutory accountant. So so the external party is effectively becoming your statutory accountant, a statutory accountant on your behalf. So they deal with auditors, they deal with like managers to manage assets, for example. So they do all these things. Budgeting, which is like, say, more to say, fulfilling a role of a management accountant on your behalf. So external organization is doing all your budget things. And when you think about outsourcing, there are definitely advantages and a lot of advantages or pros, and also there are some disadvantages, or maybe not disadvantages, or maybe potential risks, which you need to be aware. So, for example, when we take about pros, definitely you get to access to a qualified staff, qualified professionals. They will know all about all the updates, all the regulations, and you don't have to worry about this. So they will be able to update all your reports in line with the latest requirements. External organizations who deal with other councils, they obviously have exposure to other councils, to other practices, to the industry practice, and they can share this practice with you, and they can implement better, more efficient practices within your organization. Predictable cost model, that's for sure. Usually that's a fixed fee, probably on a renewal basis contract, annual contract with the indexation of the fee based on discussion between the parties. But you know how much you pay and what you're paying for. So you can budget for this. Very often, I always see situations when councils say, we didn't budget for this consultant or for revaluation or anything, but yeah, so they always kind of get out of the budget when the consultants come and the councils have to pay for that. So you now will be able to budget this and you can actually implement it in a long-term financial plan. Obviously, improved compliance, faster month end or year end. So, for example, in New South Wales, as I said, restricted cash is a critically important part, and councils have to report, or management has to report to councils restricted cash position. And without a streamlined grant reconciliation process, that can't be done on a streamlined basis. But with the outsourced organization or consultants, if consultants can do this, this can be done, easily implemented. Local team members, they will be able finally to focus on something which is meaningful, more important to the community, to the operation of the council. Business continuity, definitely, you don't have to worry about looking for a consultant in the future. What am I gonna do next year? So you'll know that you'll be covered in this aspect. But at the same time, you need to be aware that some, I don't know, maybe counselors or maybe management, they might not feel comfortable shifting those activities to someone external. So in this case, you need to make sure that there are some safeguards between yourself and the consultant or the organization. The proper contract has to be in place. Confidentiality clause has to be in place. That's important. So make sure that you are covered here. Very often consultants are not on site. Some may feel that that's not the right thing. Someone might say, oh, we need someone to be on site, but like the reality is that you don't have to have a consultant or someone sitting next to you in the same room. Nowadays, a lot of things can be done remotely. Say, for example, we do most of the work remotely. We visit councils once or twice a year when it's external audit or interim audit, or sometimes we need to be on site just to present something important, but we don't have to be on site all the time. Data security is that important, and also this is scrutinized by the Auditor General, so make sure that the consultant or external organization, they have some proper cybersecurity features installed, or they work on a true remote desktop within the council, so that's need to be looked after. Dependency, you might feel, yes, I'm now dependent on the external organization. Yep, that's the case. But, when it comes to outsourcing, outsourcing means it's a continuity, renewal contract year over year. So it's not in an external organization interest to stop working with you. They are like, they will be interested in becoming part of your business, becoming your long-term partner in this. So that's, I can speak of myself, of our organization, that's for sure. Transition risk, data migration, process mapping, system integrations. So yeah, that's all about covering risk, how the all these processes are like a communication channel, transfer of information between your organization and the external party is set up, and that can be easily organized. So it's just a matter of setting up a proper like a communication channel, and yeah, that won't become a threat at all. So the last what I wanted to cover is that just as an example, so like we are specializing in statutory reporting and asset accounting. So statutory reporting, just if you don't mind, I'll just show you again. Statutory reporting is one of the blocks which is within finance function. It's a big block. It's a very big block, but it's more a compliance. I don't want to say that our work is meaningless, but it's a compliant work. I know that budgeting is a really important thing, but we do not do budgeting. We do compliance. So we take a lot of all this, stuff which nobody wants to deal with, but unfortunately you have to deal with as a council, and you have exactly the same requirement for statutory reporting as any other council within your state. Regardless, metro, regional, rural, bushy, far away council. And somebody has to deal with this. And this is what we do. And what that includes, and it includes, say, for example, coordination of interim and final audit. Nobody wants to deal with auditors. I myself, an auditor in the past, I know how annoying I could be. But now, yeah, now I'm on the other side of the coin, and we are now helping councils to deal with these guys. So we talk to them. We actually deal with them, and this is really, really appreciated by the councils, because yeah, it's very often it's quite frustrating. Coordination of revaluation process of asset, as I said, it's enormous amount of work which needs to be done to make sure that assets revaluation process is on time, quality done, and makes sense. Grant reconciliation, restrictions, restricted cash, so we manage that. Remediation provision accounting, as I mentioned earlier, if you have a tip, a landfill, you have to make sure that provision for future remediation of the tip is accounted for properly. Asset accounting, if it is part of the scope, then yes, but usually statutory accountant, when you hire a statutory accountant, very often, well, it probably pretty much the part of responsibility of the statutory accountant is to look after asset accounting as well. And obviously preparation of the financial statements. So that's, this is what well, there are many other sub-ledgers of this aspect, but on a high-level basis, statutory reporting this is what it is about. And we do this during the whole year to make sure that the end of the financial year process is goes like in a stressful manner. So that's all. 45 minutes. Apologies, it took a bit longer. 49 minutes. Oh, sorry. Yeah, so that's it from me.
Thank you very much for that, Igor. Some great information. And from there, I'll open it up to the floor to all the attendees. If anybody has any questions they would like to ask regarding the presentation, please do so now. If you can use the raise your hand function in Teams, that would be greatly appreciated. And none are popping up just yet, but Igor, I'd like to start it off then by asking you one. If
Yep.
we have a few coming up now, if a council wanted to, I guess, engage you for your services and things, or any other firm that provides something similar, typically how long of an onboarding process would that take? Are they talking months to get everything kind of the ball rolling on all those services, or what would we be looking at?
Yeah, well, speaking of our services, say if it's not related to assets, migrating asset data into our system, then just onboarding will take maybe 2 weeks. So what that means, what that means? So effectively, it's meeting the team via Zoom, then getting access into the remote desktop, setting up the contract. It's a standard contract, and signing off the contract. And after that, so we are in your environment. So we do not take anything out of your environment. So we work in your environment. We look at what has been done in the past. We get our head around how things worked last year, and then we start the processes for this year. And then onboarding is finished. And then after that, the two first things we do, first one is we look at your grants. If you need, well, it's regardless whether you report on restricted cash or not, we still look at your grant, how your grants register is set up. So we probably, well, in most cases, we rebuild it to make sure that it's kind of streamlined so we can report it on a regular basis, daily, weekly, monthly, whatever interval you need. And the second one is assets. These are two biggest part of every council's financial statements. So these are two first area we look at as part of after onboarding process. But onboarding itself, take it 1 to 2 weeks in average.
Thank you very much for that, Igor. I'll go over to David Webb. You had your hand up first.
Thanks, Blake. Thanks, Igor. That was excellent. And I guess that just reinforces the complexity of local government in finance. It's like you said, not anyone can come off the street from private and handle it. Just was wondering, a simple question, just wondering if we might be able to get a copy of your presentation, if that was possible, please.
So I'll probably leave it to Blake and Sandra.
Yeah, that would be great if that's possible, please, Blake. Thank you.
No worries, we'll be distributing that out. Rod McDonald, you had your hand up next. I'll turn over to Rod McDonald for your question.
Rod is muted. Yep.
Thanks, Mike. I've probably
Sorry, Rod, it sounds like you may be having some technical difficulties. We're not getting anything through.
clients. I note that in get back. Am I there now, Blake?
Yeah, you're coming through now. The audio's dropped back out, unfortunately. Just being aware of the time. Sorry, Rod. If you're able to type it in the chat, that would be great.
Yeah, no. I think it was an issue with my connection. I had to leave that question. Sorry.
No worries, Rod. Like I said, you're coming
Can you
in,
hear me?
very distorted. It's very difficult to understand you. If you're able to type your message in the chat box, that'd be great. And this just highlights another issue, being in rural and remote areas. It's around connectivity.
Yeah. Okay.
Do recognize we're starting to see people drop off because of the time. If nobody has any other questions, I'll give it another minute or so, but while you're thinking of your question, I'll just let you know that the CRLG will be taking a break over the Christmas period, and our next webinar is scheduled for March, and that is looking like a forum on the unique costs faced by rural local government. And then coming up in May, we have a special forum on the amalgamation 10 years on for New South Wales. So that review there, and post this webinar, it will be posted up on the CRLG website. That's crlg.net.au, along with the slides from today. And it will also be posted up on the CRLG's YouTube page, which is just Center for Rural Local Government. If you just search that on YouTube, you can be able to find it and replay it and have another watch in our previous webinars on there as well. So no other questions have come in. So I want to thank again, Igor, thank you very much for your time today. It was very informative, again, a very important topic for rural and remote local government. And thank you everybody who attended today. And I look forward to seeing you at the next one. Thank you all very much.
Okay. Thanks, Mike.
Thank
Good job.
you.
Thank you.